Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Alyssa Tracey. I am Director of International Trade at the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Today, we kick off World Trade Week and National Small Business Week. Joining me today is Josh Billington, Assistant State Director of Strategic Innovation Operations with the Michigan Small Business Development Center. Thank you so much for joining us today, Josh, and happy World Trade Week.
Thanks, Alyssa, and happy Small Business Week to you.
Thanks, Josh. Well, before we get started, I wanted to give a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today and why it's so important for small businesses and the service providers that are tuning in today. Small Business Week is an opportunity for us to recognize and celebrate Michigan's 900,000 small businesses. 900,000. As we mentioned earlier, this week is World Trade Week. And so what you may not expect is that 89% of Michigan exporters are small and medium-sized businesses. Even more interesting, these small and medium-sized businesses, which have 500 employees or less typically, are on average 17% more profitable than companies that do not engage in international sales. Companies that earn more typically hire more. And in Michigan, we can credit more than 270,000 jobs to small businesses that are actively exporting. To put this in perspective, international trade supports Michigan's economy more than almost any other state in the country, with a third or 33% of our GDP coming from inbound and outbound trade. Naturally, our closest neighbor, Canada, plays a big role in these figures as our largest trading partner. Overall, Michigan businesses achieved $55 billion in export sales alone in 2021. So, how can companies get in on the action? And more importantly, get in on that 17% increase in profitability. So, Josh, I'd love to talk to you about how small businesses can work with your team at SBDC to get export ready and prepare their business for success in accessing new global markets. What are some ways that your team can help companies determine if they're ready to take this next step in exporting?
Well, sure. Thanks, Alyssa. Here at the SBDC, we have consultants all throughout the state servicing all 83 counties of Michigan. And basically, the first place to start is to register on our website, michigansbdc.org. And from there, you can check whether you're interested in exporting or not and what countries you might be interested in. And from there, you'll receive an email with a couple of links on them, one of which is an early export online assessment where you can quickly go in, answer about 20 questions just to set a baseline of where your company is in starting the export journey. And from there, we've also developed an online training module that's packed with resources that you can start to explore and kind of get a better grasp of what's involved in getting your company involved in export. There's a lot of information in there. It's packed with good templates and resources. And then from there, we'll connect you with one of our 10 export certified consultants and help you start developing a business plan and a marketing plan to get you ready.
Awesome. Can you tell us more about those export consultants? How does a company get connected with them? And are they based regionally or by industry sector?
Sure. Yeah, we are broken up into 10 different regions, and each region is assigned a certified global business professional or CGBP certified export consultant who will meet with you, review your assessment, your online assessment with you, and get you started on the path to start developing an export plan.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that there's a module that companies can tap into to determine their export readiness. What are some steps that your team helps or that your team takes to help them along this?
Oh, sure. We discuss all kinds of things, and basically like starting with developing an export business plan, reviewing the financials and the profit worthiness of your company if you're in a good spot to start expanding into different markets. And then we start to develop expenses or how much it would cost, help you explore what it would cost to ship to certain countries. And so all of these variables weigh into whether it's a good idea to explore this market or explore any foreign market or not quite yet. And we help guide companies to get to the point, if they're not quite there yet, to get to the point to where they would be in a good spot to export.
Awesome. Are there any particular countries that companies come to you saying, I'm really interested in selling my product to XYZ country? Are there a lot of requests for one country or region of the world in particular?
Well, of course, we get a lot of interest in Canada and Mexico to export to those two countries. But in the north, I live in the UP, and we've got several companies that want to that develop or want to sell snow-related products, which is obviously seasonal. So they obviously have interest in Southern Hemisphere countries to diversify their market. So obviously, as you know, in Australia, when it's summertime here, it's wintertime there. So there's a lot of interest in those types of countries as well.
Nice. Well, it's a good way for you to help keep companies a little bit more balanced in their seasonal fluctuations of finding new markets that may be experiencing different weather conditions than we are at different parts of the year.
Yeah.
Awesome. So in your experience working with some small businesses, do you have any examples or lessons learned that small business owners have shared with you that could be helpful to other small business owners?
Sure. Yeah, there, a lot of small businesses that are pretty successful take a lot of time to work in their business. I mean, on their business as well as in their business. And as a consultant, we find this a lot, that a lot of folks will get very caught up in selling the product, getting the merchandise out, and let the business side of the business go a little bit. And so, some of the best pieces of advice that we have come across is that when people really do sit down and dedicate a certain amount of time to work on their business, they're a whole lot more successful. In addition to that, knowing your numbers is huge, and understanding financial statements and keeping really good track of all of the financials in your business helps give a really good measurable to what's really going on, as opposed to how you feel things are going on. The quantitative analysis in the numbers is extremely important to learn and kind of hone.
Great. I just wanted to remind viewers that if you do have any questions for me or Josh or both of us, feel free to share those or type those in. We're happy to answer any questions that come in live. But Josh, I do have another question for you. For companies that you're working with that do have all the pieces in place, that do have financials ready, that have a good strategy and are ready to take that next step in developing a strategic export plan, your team, I know, does a few things to help companies take that next step and get better prepared to go global. Can you talk to us a little bit more about some of the specific work that your team does on SEO? And
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the major export projects that we do is, in addition to early export assistance, helping people get their financials and ready, is our international SEOs. And we have a team of graduate student assistants at Grand Valley State University, here where our headquarters, that help us evaluate your website and get it prepared for foreign markets. And that's a very valuable tool to set a baseline as to what you might need to tweak in your website. And from there, usually the best next step is to refer you to MEDC for your STEP grant funding. So it kind of makes a nice transition of getting business plans all set, preparing your website and marketing materials, reviewing your products and pricing and export costs and fees all associated with that, and then getting the client really ready for the next step, which would be to refer them to our partners at MEDC.
Awesome. For any of the other small business owners that are with us today, are there any other resources that you want to recommend that are available through the Michigan SBDC and maybe where they could find resources and opportunities.
Sure, absolutely. We have a lot. One of our bread and butter basically is our one-on-one consulting for people interested in exporting or just starting a small business. And everything kind of starts at our website. It's kind of the start of our funnel. Everything is cost free, so it doesn't cost you a thing just to get registered. And in the process of seeing a consultant, accessing our online webinar library, which we have a ton of videos on all kinds of things, including export. You can register for our trade passport program, where you get up to 20 free videos of exporting help and tips and tricks. In addition to that, if you're in a second stage growth company, we have a specialized growth team and a specialized tech team for more tech-focused industries and startups. So we kind of cover the spectrum of all small businesses in Michigan that are 500 employees or less, as you mentioned. And from there, we'll guide you kind of along the way to access funding or get you in front of the right opportunities to help grow your business.
Thanks, Josh.
Sure.
Looks like we did have a question come in from Kwan. What are the top 5 issues for small business exporters in today's market? This is a tough one. I don't know how to consolidate into 5, but some people might say supply chain.
This
So
is true.
supply chain could be all 5, and logistics, because I know that this has just been disrupted so much over the past really 24 months. We've actually been connecting with our partners, our federal partners, at the U.S. Commercial Service to explore this topic and some solutions. And we're happy to share some of those after this event with anyone that's interested. You can always email me at Tracey, Traceya at michigan.org. We'd be happy to get you on our distribution list for any international trade, our newsletters and other updates. But really, beyond supply chain and logistics, I think one of the main struggles that companies are looking at is identifying what their target market is and what the regulations are to successfully compete. So it's not only identifying that market, but identifying how they might need to adjust their business practices for their product or their service to be competitive in that new market. Josh, anything you want to add on that?
No, I think you're absolutely right. Logistics is a big thing. Financing could be an issue too in the future, as well where you see interest rates go up and a variable financial market globally. So those two things kind of look out for. And then, of course, like everybody's suffering from is personnel. If you're going to increase sales, you're going to increase your staff and your personnel in order to focus on exports. So I think those are some issues to look at as well. See another question here. How do I know if my company is a good fit for exporting? I'd suggest you register with the SBDC and get a hold of our online early export assessment. Now it kind of scales and grades you out as to whether you're a good fit or not, and it also lets you know what you need to work on in order to become a good fit. And we'll be glad to walk you through that as well at the SBDC.
And that's a recent addition, right, Josh? You just launched a brand new program to help companies better identify if they're ready, and if not, what specifically they need to work on to get ready to take that next step.
Yes, and we're actually working on a new tool to help companies identify which countries would be the best fit for them to ship to, or export to. So we're excited to test that out here in the next couple of months as well.
Awesome. Well, can't wait to get that out and get Michigan companies engaged with that program too. There's so many resources around the state to help companies understand whether they're ready now, what they need to do to get there, and where they can go. So definitely looking forward to some new products coming down the line.
Yeah.
Any questions you have for me, Josh, on exporting or MEDC international trade team?
Yeah, could you tell us a little bit about what MEDC has to offer and how export fits into the ecosystem of the the kind of products or what STEP can actually work with for the folks out there?
Yeah. Well, similar to your team, you mentioned you had 10 regionally based export counselors. Our team has slightly fewer. We have 5 around the state that are regionally based. And our international trade managers are your first step in accessing anything regarding MEDC's international trade support. And they can also help refer companies to any of our other partners at the federal or local levels when it comes to export development support. We've got a wide range of small business services that include everything from legal support, helping you understand some of the IP protections your company might need to have in place before scoping out a new foreign market, to marketing and digital visibility of your company in up to 2 different markets. So we've got a program that actually helps companies create a micro version of their website that is translated and targeted to specific international audiences. And we've got a whole bunch more in between. So you've mentioned the STEP program. This is actually our grant program that allows companies to tap into up to $15,000 a year in grant money to offset specific costs related to exporting. That can cover everything from actually physically going into a new country for a prospective sales trip to Poland or a trade show in Germany, or it could be used for any domestic sales trade shows. These trade shows could be, in Florida or in Nevada, but they would have a significant international presence at those shows. We also provide STEP grant assistance for non-travel activities. So if you're just staying home in your home office, and you're not ready to step foot out back into the world, there's still plenty of dollars available to support for website development, for e-commerce, or shipping sample products, international certifications and compliance testing, all things that may not require physical travel, but are still expenses that you incur when you're trying to initiate your product or service into a new foreign market. So we've got certainly a lot of opportunities for Michigan companies to get out there in the world, and a lot of resources that are available.
Excellent.
Yeah. But Josh, I really appreciate you joining us today. And I don't know if we have any other questions before we wrap up for today, but I appreciate all the information you gave us and the little teaser about an upcoming resource that your team's in development right now.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and we really appreciate our partnership with MEDC, and just want to let everyone know we work together to help small businesses throughout the state of Michigan. So reach out to any of us at any time.
Absolutely. I appreciate everyone watching us today. To learn more about Michigan's support for small businesses, generally speaking, you can visit michiganbusiness.org. If you're interested specifically in exporting, though, and how you can take your company to new international markets, or if you're already exporting and you want to see what kind of support you can get, visit michiganbusiness.org/export. We'd be happy to work with you and help you uncover new international markets and grow your sales. So thank you, Josh, for joining us today. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
All right. Happy World Trade Week and National Small Business Week.